Hey y'all, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrina and this is I am going to do my November pile of possibilities. I'm specifically just going to focus on two categories because the rest of the month I'll mood read my cozy mysteries, thrillers, and horror books. But November is Indigathon, and also November is nonfiction month. So I have a list of books that I already have access to or that I own that I'm going to pick from, and my hope is probably to read one of each of these per week. So one indigenous book and one nonfiction per week. So I'll get four of each of these piles of possibility. So let's go through the nonfiction that I have. Now I already own these, I've been kind of collecting them. And so the first one is Ace by Angela Chen. It's what asexuality reveals about desire, society, and the meaning of sex. And I saw Ashley at Bookish Realm talk about this book, and I was really excited by her review, and so I went ahead and picked it up because I think asexuality is the one that is least known even by people in the LGBTQIA community, and so I just wanted to learn more about it. The next book that I have, and I've had it sitting on my in my Audible account for a long time because I bought it as soon as it came out. I followed this lady I follow her on Twitter, and for a long time she was anonymous, and you know, obviously her name came out for this book, and it's called What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat by Aubrey Gordon, and she's a fat activist. The name of her, I don't know if it's a newsletter or whatever. I just kind of read it from TikTok. I just read it from Twitter. So, and I would, read what she would have to say. If she linked something, I would follow the link. So I'm not quite sure what to call her website. But the website is Your Fat Friend, and it's an indictment of the systemic and cultural bias facing plus size people that will move us towards creating an agenda for fat justice. Anti-fatness is everywhere. And what we don't talk about when we talk about fat, Aubrey Gordon unearths the cultural attitudes and social systems that have led to people being denied basic needs because they are fat, and calls for social justice movements to be inclusive of plus-size people's experiences. Unlike recent waves of memoirs and quasi-self-help books that encourage readers to love and accept themselves, Gordon pushes the discussion further than towards authentic fat activism, which includes ending legal weight discrimination, giving equal access to health care for large people, increasing access to public spaces, and ending anti-fat violence. As she argues, I did not come to body positivity for self-esteem, I came to it for social justice. By sharing her experiences, as well as those of others, from smaller fat to very fat people, she concludes that to be fat in our society is to be seen as an undeniable failure, unlovable, unforgivable, and morally condemnable. Fatness is an open invitation to others to express disgust, fear, and insidious concern. To be fat is to be denied humanity and empathy. Societies show that fat survivors of sexual assault are less likely to be believed and less likely than their thin counterparts to report various crimes. 27% of fat women and 13% of very fat men attempt suicide. Over 50% of doctors describe their fat patients as awkward, unattractive, ugly, and non-compliant. And in 48 states, it's legal, even routine, to deny employment because of an applicant's size. Advancing fat justice and changing prejudicial structures and attitudes will require work from all people. What we don't talk about when we talk about fat is a crucial tool to create a tectonic shift in the way we see, talk about, and treat our bodies, fat and thin alike. So another book that goes really well with this that I've been meaning to read for a long time is Fearing the Black Body. I'm going to order this one. The Racial Origins of Fat Phobia by Sabrina Strings. In her first book, Sociologist Strings, Sociology, University of California, Irvine, explores the historical development of pro-thin, anti-fat ideologies deployed in support of Western patriarchal white supremacy. beginning in the aesthetic ideals circulated by Renaissance thinkers and artists and bringing her narrative up to the 1990s. Strings charts how white Europeans and Anglo-Americans developed ideals of race and beauty that both explicitly and figuratively juxtapose slim, desirable white women against corpulent, seemingly monstrous black women. The work is divided into 3 sections. The 2 chapters in the first part consider how Renaissance white women and women of color are depicted as plump and feminine, separated by class, yet belonging to the same gender. The second part of the work charts the rise of modern racial ideologies that yoked feminine beauty to Protestant Anglo-Saxon whiteness. Later chapters and the epilogue consider how Americans normalized the scientific management of white women's bodies for the purpose of racial uplift, a project that continues to situate black women as the embodied other. The author does not address fat from the angle of health or previous attitudes white Europeans held towards corpulence. The next book I own, but I don't know if I'll read it this month, but I do own it already, so it's an option, is Assata. It's an autobiography of the famous Black Panther, who I think she's in Cuba right now. On May 2nd, 1973, Black Panther Assata Shakur, aka Joanne Chesmard, I have no idea, lay in the hospital close to death, handcuffed to her bed, while local, state, and federal police attempted to question her about the shootout on the New Jersey Turnpike that claimed the life of a white state trooper. Long a target of J. Edgar Hoover's campaign to defame, infiltrate, and criminalize black nationalist organizations and their leaders, Shakur was incarcerated for 4 years prior to her conviction on flimsy evidence in 1977 as an accomplice to murder. This intensely personal and political autobiography belies the fearsome image of Joanne Chesmard, long projected by the media and the state. With wit and candor, Assata Shakur recounts the experiences that led to her life of activism and portrays the strengths, weaknesses, and eventual demise of black and white revolutionary groups at the hand of government officials. The result is a signal contribution to the literature about growing up black in America, and that has already taken its place alongside the autobiography of Malcolm X and the works of Maya Angelou. 2 years after her conviction, Assata Shakur escaped from prison. She was given political asylum by Cuba, where she now resides. So the next book that I am going to definitely try to get to this month is The Disordered Cosmos, A Journey into Dark Matter, Space-Time, and Dreams Deferred by Chanda Prescott Weinstein. From a star theoretical physicist, a journey into the world of particle physics and the cosmos, and a call for a more just practice of science. In The Disordered Cosmos, Dr. Chanda Prescott Weinstein shares her love for physics and the standard model of particle physics and what lies beyond it, to the physics of melanin in the skin, to the latest theories of dark matter, all with a new spin informed by history, politics, and the wisdom of Star Trek. One of the leading physicists of her generation, Dr. Chanda Prescott Weinstein, is also one of fewer than 100 Black American women to earn a PhD from a Department of Physics. Her vision of the cosmos is vibrant, buoyantly non-traditional, and grounded in Black feminist traditions. Prescott Weinstein urges us to recognize how science, like most fields, is rife with racism, sexism, and other dehumanizing systems. She lays out a bold new approach to science and society that begins with the belief that we all have the fundamental right to know and love the night sky. The disordered chaos streams into existence a world that allows everyone to tap into humanity's wealth of knowledge about the wonders of the universe. So this book I saw talked about on Books and Lala channel, and she gave it 5 stars, and I was just like, that's such an interesting point of view to look at race, and that's one of my favorite things to look at, you know, and study and research and things like that, and ways that we can I don't know, start attacking the isms that intersect within me, being Black, being fat, being a woman, you know, being working class, all those kinds of things. Like, all of those things intersect. And so I'm always interested in, I don't know, how do we uplift people that are in the systems that I reside. Okay, so I'm not going to read through the other ones, but I have a few other ones that I've just had sitting in my Audible shelf, and I have some, obviously, like the 400 Souls and The Body Keeps a Score. Those are physical books that I have. I also have So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijoma Oluo. Yeah, Ijoma Oluo. Caffeine by Michael Pollan. Antifa by Michael Bray. Why You Should Be a Socialist by Nathan J. Robinson. And Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. So those are some of the other books that I have, but the ones that I read off to you are the ones that I'm most likely to get to this month. ACE, What We Don't Talk About When We Talk About Fat, Fearing the Fat Body, and The Disordered Chaos are the 4 that I'm looking forward to really getting to. And obviously, if they don't turn out to be everything that I love, I have tons of backups. Now, for Indigathon, I have Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This has another book that has an extraordinarily high rating. I almost never see this. Almost has a 5-star rating, 4.56 on Goodreads. As a botanist, Robin Wall Kimmerer has been trained to ask questions of nature with the tools of science. As a member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, she embraces the notion that plants and animals are our oldest teachers. In Braiding Sweetgrass, Kimmerer brings these lenses of knowledge together to show the awakening of a wider ecological consciousness required to acknowledge and celebrate our reciprocal relationship with the rest of the world. The next one that I have is The Grass Dancer by Susan Power. This is from the lore of her people, the Sioux. Susan Power presents an extraordinary debut novel, rich in drama and infused with magic. Set on a North Dakota reservation, this book weaves the stories of the old and young, broken families, romantic rivals, and men and women in love and at war. Joseph Bruchac has a couple of books on this list, and it seems like he writes for middle grade a lot. So Talking Leaves is one. 13-year-old Uwo Holly has not seen his father Sequoia for many years. So when Sequoia returns to the village, Uwo Holly is eager to reconnect, but Sequoia's new obsession with making strange markings causes friends and neighbors in their tribe to wonder whether he is crazy or worse, practicing witchcraft. What they don't know, and what Uwo Holly discovers, is that Sequoia is a genius, and his strange markings are actually an alphabet representing the sounds of the Cherokee language. The story of one of the most important figures in Native American history is brought to life for middle grade readers. So that's nice. So Skeleton Man by the same author is ever since the morning Molly woke up to find her parents have vanished, her life has become filled with terrible questions. Where have her parents gone? Who is the spooky old man who is taking her to live with him, claiming to be her great uncle? Why does he never eat? Why does he lock her in her room at night? What are her dreams of the skeleton man trying to tell her? And there's one thing Molly does know. She needs to find some answers before it's too late. This is a really short story. It's 128 pages. So that sounds nice and spooky for our extended spooky season. Two Roads by Joseph Bruchac. It's 1932 and 12-year-old Cal Black and his pop have been riding the rails for years after losing their farm in the Great Depression. Cal likes being a knight of the road with Pop, even if they're broke. But when Pop has to go to Washington, D.C., some of his fellow veterans are marching for their government checks. And Pop wants to make sure he gets his due, and Cal can't go with him. So Pop tells Cal something he never knew before. Pop is actually a Creek Indian, which means Cal is too. And Pop has decided to send Cal to a government boarding school for Native Americans in Oklahoma called the Shalagi School. At school, the other Creek boys quickly take Cal under their wings. Even in the harsh, miserable conditions of the Bureau of Indian Affairs boarding school, he begins to learn about his people's history and heritage. He learns their language and customs, and most of all, he learns how to find strength in a group of friends who have nothing beyond each other. So this is really timely, actually, because of what was in the news and what was found in Canada recently. And so, you know, so as we've done this exact same thing down here, and so it'll be interesting to read it from the point of view of American Indians. So let's leave this as our end of the video emoji if you made it this far, and let me know what you're planning on reading in November. Are you taking part in Digithon? I don't think I'm going to be doing any of the activities if they have any. I'm just going to be reading some books because that's a group of people in our society that are overlooked, and I'd like to know more about them. And I had a bunch of books for nonfiction November. I already have a lot of nonfictions that I probably should be getting to. This gives me an excuse to do that. What about you? Do you have a bunch of nonfiction books that you buy when you see them somewhere and they look interesting and they just kind of pile up because all of these other fun candy books are there, whereas your vegetable books kind of get lost in the sauce? So let me know what you're reading in November. Be easy on yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.